This is Moments with Fu with James Fu Torres, better known as Fu, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Fu is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Fu.
Welcome to Moments with Fu. I'm your host, James Fu Torres, but you can call me Fu. And today I have somebody that I absolutely adore. I say that she's one of top tier humans, one of my favorite humans on this planet. Her name is Stephanie Jaie. She is a lot of things. I mean, a lot of it working with sexual empowerment coaching, working with matchmaking, working with a lot of different things in that pleasure and sexual space, but I'm going to let her tell you more about that. But first, Stephanie, how are you?
I am fantastic and very, very, very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. I'm very excited to get into things with you because, I mean, every time that I'm with you, we have amazing conversations. I feel like I get clarity and happiness. Everything is pretty cool. So I want to give the audience a taste of that. So let's kick it off with a quick introduction about yourself and your company.
Yeah, so I'm Stephanie Jaie, and I define myself as an erotic alchemist. And the next question I always get is, what the fuck is an erotic alchemist? So essentially, the energy of alchemy is taking something that is dense, that is heavy, lead, and through energetic practices, using those energetic practices to transform that lead into gold. And I call myself an erotic alchemist because the energy that I prefer to work with is the energy of the erotic, eros, sexual energy. And the reason I like that is because, quite frankly, it is the fastest and most effective. And let's be honest, nobody here is looking for the slow path, right? Let's get the transformation. Let's get to the gold as quickly as we possibly can. So if we can do that with eros, then of course, let's do it that way. And plus, let's be honest, it feels a lot better than sitting in meditation all day.
I love that. I love that. For me, what was attractive about your brand was to what I describe alchemy is like taking that like pain and negative energy, right, and turn it into something positive, something magical, and being able to turn the erotic, something that has so much shame, so much misinformation, miseducation, and something that is often uh, a crutch more than something positive for people. Like, oh, I'm addicted to sex. I'm always chasing that. I'm wasting a lot of time that I could be doing productive stuff, just chasing women, watching porn, or anything negative associated with the erotic, and being able to turn the erotic in something that is actually giving you something positive for your life, and to be able to manifest the life you want and be tapping into that energy. That we're gonna get more into that, into the how and actual tips for that. But I really love that because I was feeling something that is like, damn, like, should I be liking this? Should I not? Should I be in all those questions that I had, and you have helped me give me a lot of clarity on that realm, and I'm very thankful for that. So I hope that we can give some clarity to the audience too through this, and hopefully they get even more clarity by talking more with you. So,
Yeah, I would obviously love that. And that's so funny that it's so true that our sexual energy, as the most powerful energy that we have in the entire world, I mean, let's just think about it from even just literal physical example. Sexual energy is the only energy on the planet that can create life. That literally takes, something from, whether you believe in a soul or not, but takes something from non-existence and turns it into a human baby, a human form that then has the capacity to completely and totally change the world. Like, if that is not true power, then I don't know what is. And of course, as we have seen through our history, people having incredible power is not exactly beneficial for different institutions, different organizations, different governments. And so we've seen, as we moved into the Victorian era and as we moved through history, that we started to really shame the power of the feminine energy, which is the receptive, the intuitive, the connected to the divine, as well as the power of our sexuality. And one thing that I love, a bit of a mindset practice that I love to give people when they're starting to kind of question their reality and question, should I be thinking these things and should I have these desires? And, I'm being told that this is bad and shameful, but is it really? The question I want you to ask yourself is, who benefits from you not having access to this?
Who benefits from not having access to the energy, the information, the being able to catalyze that?
Yeah, anytime that we see mass suppression, and I mean, we can even just look into like modern day examples right now. At the time of this recording, we're about to go into a very large election year in the US and in Canada. And so we can already see there's, these dynamics of suppression and certain narratives that are being woven, even in the modern day. We're very familiar with the idea of fake news and narratives and all of this. And the question always, always, always should be, who's benefiting from this story? Who's benefiting from this line? This story that my sexual energy that is inherent in every single human on the planet that we all have access to, who's the one that's really benefiting if I feel shameful for it, if I feel bad for it, if I feel inherently wrong, or that it should be restricted? Like, that's definitely not benefiting me to feel wrong, shameful, and bad all the time. It's definitely not benefiting the people around me to feel wrong, shameful all the time. So who is actually benefiting from this narrative? And when we start to get curious about that, and obviously I'm not going to answer that question because that's a unique exploration for every single person to go through on their own. But I want you to start asking, I want your audience to start asking those types of questions when they see things that feel intuitively incorrect or that they're questioning a lot. The question becomes, who's benefiting from this narrative? And if it's not me, then why am I listening to it?
Yeah, I want to quote you actually. When you told me, shame doesn't serve anybody, right?
Yeah.
So feeling shameful, feeling something, that type of negative energy towards anything really,
Mhm.
especially towards yourself, anything that is to yourself, it's something that is just not gonna serve anybody. Like, it's not gonna do any good. So that's something that I wanted to share, because you gave me that golden nugget, and I've been using it almost as a mantra. And it's like, hey, shame doesn't serve anybody, because as humans, I know I typically go into shame spirals, and I just kind of like loop around different things, and keeps me on this like shame loop. And we talked about this, and it's just like, hey, shame doesn't serve anybody. Snap out of this. Like, you're gonna snap out eventually, so might as well do it sooner than later. So what kind of things can I do to go into that pleasure state, uh,
Mhm.
in a healthy way, let's say, right? Like, don't go watch porn, or go watch, like, do drugs or whatever, right? Like, just do something that really will fulfill you, like give you that pleasure, so then you can go back and like into like snap out of that shame spiral, right? And just get back to your authentic self. So something that I wanted to give to the audience. um, you kind of already gave a little bit of tips, but you have any other actionable tips or advice for people that you said, tapping into this energy? They hear you talk about this, people want to be like, okay, cool, that sounds good, but how do I actually take action towards tapping to that Eros energy, and make it something that is bringing positive to my life?
Yeah, and it's a really complicated question because for most of us, because we have so much shame tied up into our sexual energy and stories around how it's allowed to be expressed and what it needs to look like or sound like, and how entwined it is with, for example, our body and the way that our body looks or smells or the color of our skin or whatever the case might be, the amount of fat we have on our abdomen. This is really, really complex. We have this narrative that we can only feel pleasure in a certain space if you look a certain way, and even the expression of that pleasure needs to feel a certain way. And all of that is restricting and limiting our ability to access what is really truly your meant to be your natural state, A state of pleasure is what the human body is wired for. Scientifically, every single cell in our body is wired to have the capacity to feel pleasure. Why would we have evolved that way if we were not meant to consistently be in a pervasive state of pleasure? And yet, when we think about it, we think, oh, that's bad, that's wrong. It's going, I'm going to be hedonistic. I'm going to be mean. I'm going to be evil. I'm going to be greedy. Heaven forbid, I'm lustful, right? We get all of these stories. And because we have all of that, accessing true pleasure in the state that human beings are meant to be, because pleasure truly is a flow state, and your pleasure really is your power. It empowers you. Being able to access that needs to start very, very small. And you already mentioned, for example, a lot of people are thinking, okay, pleasure is drugs, or it's pornography, or even a quick orgasm or a quick ejaculation. These things are not the type of pleasure that I'm talking about. This is a dopamine-based escapism. So dopamine is the neurochemical in our brain, the neurotransmitter and the hormone that says, hey, you have achieved a goal. So we use dopamine in our bodies to help us learn. We get a dopamine rush when we achieve something, when we learn something new, when we've, took that hill or killed that bear so our family can eat for however long we eat bears for. And all of that is very, very helpful in an evolutionary perspective. And so, yeah, if you're looking for a quick hit to just give you that shot of dopamine, I mean, porn, drugs, shopping, food, quick ejaculation, like all of those things will suffice. And when I'm speaking of the type of pleasure that it gets to be your persistent state of flow and pleasure that pervades every single area of your life, that is actually an oxytocin-based form of pleasure, which is the love hormone. That is completely and totally different. And in order for us to access that, we need to be in states of trust. We need to be in states of surrender. We need to be in states of relaxation, which is part of being in our pleasure, because true pleasure, you're at peace. You're just like, this is amazing. I love this. And yeah, you might be heightened energetically and there might be a lot going on, but at the end of the day, you're in this beautiful, peaceful state, which is why it is a flow state. So to access that, we can't be in this, I need the quick hit to feel amazing right now. That's not the energy that we're talking about. There's a beautiful, beautiful practice that I love to give everyone. And you can actually find this on my YouTube channel as well. I'll give you the link so you can share it with your audience. That will take them step through step, but through what I call the pleasure breath. And this is simply starting off by tuning into the breath and centering your body. And the reason we start with that is breath, actually in Sanskrit, the word for breath is very, very similar. It's actually only one word off from the word that means spirit and the word that means life. So your breath is your life force as well as your connection to the divine, your connection to your spirit. When we tap into our breath, we ground, we center, we come back into the body, we come back into the earth. And as a result, our pleasure is actually accessible. Our true pleasure is accessible for some people who listen to this, maybe for the first time in their entire lives. So this practice is absolutely fantastic. The best way to do this is to do what starts off as a fourfold breath. Would you like me to take you through it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's something that a lot of people I've seen around. It's not they're just you. Like a lot of people recommend to do this, and it's a good starting point. Not people to then kind of segue into other types of breath work. So.
Yes, exactly. So this is very simple. This is not a holotropic breath or anything that is going to take you into these really intense metaphysical or psychedelic spaces. Those are beautiful and I work with those as well. But for the purposes of this practice, we just want to be grounding and centering ourselves. So it's very, very simple. What you're going to do is breathe in for a count of 4. So go ahead, Fu, and breathe in for a count of 4 for me. Fantastic. At the top, you're going to hold for a count of 4. And you can kind of visualize, you can see, if you're watching us on video, you can see that Fu is moving his finger to the left. Hold your breath really long now for me while I explain this. And then you're going to breathe out down for a count of 4. And then you're going to hold at the bottom for a count of 4. And so it can help to visualize if you're a very heady individual, as Fu can be. It can be very easy to get caught in the brain and caught in the mind. And so having this idea of a box where when you're breathing up, you're going up the side of the box. When you're holding for 4 seconds, 4 counts, you're going across the top of the box. When you're exhaling, you're going down the other side of the box, and then you hold at the bottom and you're going across the bottom. So this is also in Buddhist technology oftentimes called a box breath for this reason. And this visualization can help you stay centered in your body and in your brain instead of thinking about what you're going to make for lunch tomorrow, or the hot date that you have tonight, or that thing that you didn't do yesterday, as an example. But I always recommend starting here. And the question is, well, what does that have to do with pleasure? Again, it centers you into your body. It brings you into your body, and it grounds you and it relaxes you, which is absolutely essential in order to experience true pleasure. Once you feel that you've got that really good and you've got a good system and you're feeling that you're rested and you're relaxed, what I want you to do is imagine breathing into your sex center. So when I say that, I mean whatever your genitalia are, depending on what you were born with or what you currently have. Imagine breathing, when you're breathing up, as if you're breathing energy into your sex center, and then you're holding it in your sex center, and then you're breathing it down. And this can be as simple as just imagining that the breath is pooling in that area. Once you do this enough, you're going to start to notice things like energetic sensations, tingles. You might start to get aroused, and your pleasure is going to naturally build because you're doing two things. You're relaxed and you're paying attention to your sex. And that's all it takes to start accessing your pleasure. You can do it literally anywhere. You could do it on the bus if you want to. I don't recommend doing it driving. Please don't do that. But literally anywhere else, you can do this as a nice private practice to quantify you, to ground you, and to bring you back into your center.
I love that. I mean, I've been doing it. To be honest, I've been kind of out of it. It's just, I don't know. I just had, like, I don't know why this year started kind of very heavy for me, and very very tough mentally. We talk a little bit about this, and I just kind of bounced back recently. Like that, I have like 3 good days in just by getting back into the body. So that's why I really know that this is the way. Like, just eliminating porn, uh, focusing on the body. A lot of it is I do yoga, and then just doing breath work, focusing on the body, not in the mind. Just clear the mind, and then from that state, then it's kind of like it's like a cleansing almost. It's like just you're in your body. You're not thinking about anything, in just how can I feel pleasure without external stimulants, just me, my breath, my in just in sync with my body. And then now that opens up, at least in my experience, for being able to find pleasure on common stuff, because then you can tap into that you have learned how to do, and find pleasure, like just doing normal house stuff or groceries or anything, because now you have learned how to not need these external stimulants. And for sex, it's amazing to be able to, like someone like me that thinks a lot, to be able to just breathe, get in your body, and then being able to get that libido, right, or they get that blood flowing to really have a very good, pleasant sexual experience, because of knowing how to pleasure myself without the external, and then adding that external person, right, like that external stimulant with that person. As long as the energy matches, then it becomes something, basically, could be magical, even in a great experience. That's my share.
Yeah, you definitely can access transcendental states, magical states, bliss states with, and not even necessarily orgasm, but just with the energy of pleasure as it ripples through your body. This is actually one of the main goals when we're working with my clients in the Sexual Empowerment Academy, which is my signature program and my flagship. If you're looking to really evolve your sexual energy, this would be your next step. At the end of that, we're working on, okay, how do we circulate this energy through the body? How do we grow it? How do we expand it? How do we experience, orgasmic touch on the tip of our fingers or our knee or the back of our hand? How do we get this to be something that's pervasive, that literally this almost orgasmic state is vibrating through your body on a day-to-day basis? And how do you get to the point where you can have, these transcendental, bliss-filled experiences where, you know, your orgasm lasts 30 minutes and you're having a full-blown hallucinogenic experience where you're touching the face of God and having conversations with deities and downloads from the divine. It's such a beautiful place, and it is so possible. And the benefit of that, other than just being like a really cool experience, is that when you have that level of connection, you're so much more able to flow through life. You have confidence in every decision that you make. You have energy because you're literally pulling from the energy of your sexual center, which is designed to give you energy. You have more vitality, you have more creativity, and you have more magnetism, more opportunities, more, you know, people would call it luck. Amazing things will start to come into your field because you are just this big magnetic ball of magnetism that just people can't help but be attracted to you. Opportunities can't help but be attracted to you. So not only are you having this amazing pleasure-filled, bliss-filled experience on a regular basis where you're, you know, communing with whoever it is that you choose to commune with and feeling just incredible pleasure on a regular basis, and your life is meaningfully improved, not just for you, but for every single human that you touch.
That's such amazing. I you know, I haven't achieved that level of enlightenment yet, but
We'll get you there, don't you
working my
worry.
way working my way there. You know, there's been ups and downs. I mean, in 90 days, I had a quantum leap. So, I mean, I changed from being living in Oregon to now living in Puerto Rico. I'm so happy that I'm here. I mean, everybody's freezing their ass off in the United States, and I'm here, tropical island, just having a great time. I was just outside, and I was like, damn, I'm so grateful for this weather. It's so
Yeah, beautiful.
beautiful. And everything was because of I already had some business stuff going on that were extremely positive, but I felt like I was still missing something, and it was, how do I work on myself on a way that makes sense for me, right? Because there's so many different ways, like you said before. It's like, you know, there's different types of energies you can tap in. There's different ways to do things, but you describe Eros as being the most powerful. I mean, every single human in the world is here because of it, and how to, if it's so powerful, how can you use the most powerful energy in the planet to be able to create the life that you want, right? And I just getting into my body and really understanding the relationship that I had with sex, uh, and changing that, was something that changed my life completely. And
Mhm.
it's not like, oh, I changed my complete life, and there's ups and downs, right? Like, I've been feeling super great, and then suddenly, like, I get downs, and then, you know, as I date people and all that, right? There's all kinds of different types of energies and things, so it's not all gonna be up, right? It's more like it's never a straight line up, right? Or it's just, there's always gonna be bumps in the road. So um I want to give that to people. So it's like, hey, don't get discouraged if you start doing these things and you feel like you suck at it or whatever. It's normal. Like, you're starting something new. You don't know. Like, that's something. I'm telling this to myself too, right? Because I'm like so impatient. But with the guidance of Stephanie has been so good. I mean, the Sexual Empower Academy, being able to have access to 2 calls a week with Stephanie, it's such an amazing thing. Where one is to, like, let's do like a guided group embodiment, and being able to have that, with Stephanie guiding you with music and all that, and then being able to have then Q&A sessions, right, where you can get all your questions answered on a group form, and also hear from other people what they're dealing to, and being able to learn from that, create that safe space, is something that's really incredible. And that's why, I support Stephanie so much, one of my favorite humans, like I said earlier. And I hope that more people take advantage of this, because I mean, it's such a powerful thing. And there's so much value into work on yourself, and then the business, right? Like, this is a podcast where it's mostly for business owners. So then you can thrive in your business. That's something that I've seen it, and I wanted to point that out, and kind of attach it to the business.
Mhm. Yeah, if I
Oh,
were to, pull in a common thread for all of the different people that I've worked with through, the hundreds that have gone through things like my Sexual Empowerment Academy or other digital courses, and well, thousands that have gone through a total of my digital courses, and even my one-on-one, my mentorship clients, the common thread is that they've achieved some level of success in their life already, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're in corporate, and there's this pervasive feeling of something is missing, which is really how I came onto this journey as well. I mean, I was a six-figure corporate CEO in the tech industry before 30. Like, I was highly, highly, highly successful. And yet I had this undeniable feeling that something was missing. And, I kept achieving and earning more awards and getting the promotions and getting the pay raises and, being on the boards of directors. And it never filled itself. And that seems to be a common thread. And I actually just finished the Q&A call for the Sexual Empowerment Academy for this week. And that is definitely a common thread that was coming up for them, as well as how they've moved through that. And that missing piece invariably turns out to being impact. There's some desire for impact at some level, like heart-centered impact. Like, they want to feel like they're making a difference in the world. And they don't feel that they can have that because they're burned out, because they've built their business in a way, or they've built their life in such a way that everyone else in society has told them, which is hustle, which is grind, which is, you got to do the 15 posts a day on Instagram, and you've got to, early bird gets the worm, and you got to work 80-hour weeks, and, hustle, 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 do. And there's no room for them to slow down and even listen to what kind of impact they want to have, never mind have the tools to be able to access it. And even if they did have that, they don't have the space because they're already burnt out in their lives. And so they've created for themselves a life with golden handcuffs. It might look beautiful on the outside. My life certainly did. But on the inside, they have this like dirty little secret that they're kind of dying inside. And in a lot of cases, we feel shameful for that because we should be loving life, right? Everything should be amazing. We have everything we've been told we'd ever wanted in the world. We've achieved a certain level of success. Everything's incredible. And yet, when we go to bed every night, we're just not happy because we're missing something. And so pleasure and going through something like the Sexual Empowerment Academy, or like, my one-on-one mentorships and masterminds, this gives us the space and the permission to actually be willing to consider that we can do things differently, that we can work smarter, not harder, that we can use this state of flow that is accessed through our pleasure to make business decisions, to be able to pivot, to be able to have more creativity, more vitality, more energy, and get out of the head that is constantly questioning and doubting us, and make decisions from the body, which is where quantum leaps like yours just inherently come from. All we really needed to do was tell you that you didn't have to feel shame for the desires you already had, and then get your head out of the fucking way so that your heart and your body and ultimately your pleasure could tell you where to go. And what you did is you chose to listen to that, and your life rapidly transformed in a very short period of time as a result. And this is what's available for people that are listening to this podcast.
amazing. I mean, yeah. I mean, just thinking about it, it's so good. And now, all I can think about is I gotta get back to that. Like, I was not being just kind of, I do my breath work and things, but I did a little bit of pleasure practice this morning, but I gotta get it like religiously, right? Like, I know it's good every time I do it. It's good. It's in it's just a matter of like, oh, I'm gonna do it soon, and then I don't do it, right? And I just try to get caught up on things. And yeah, so definitely getting back to that. I mean, it was good start. So like, I want to get to that level of enlightenment to be able to like create more, to be more in pleasure, to have this amazing magical experiences. I mean, that sounds so amazing. So I want to get to that level so bad, but also, just be patient, just do the
Yeah.
work, and just get into it. So
Yeah, and we
so
have to do it with attachment. It's really important not to get attached to like an orgasm or get attached to an end state. Like, oh, I want to feel this bliss state so badly. That attachment is inherently going to push it away. So as you said, and just for the listeners to really ground this, like, yes, patience, surrender, do the practices, and I promise you it will happen the more you let go of wanting it to happen. And for you, Fu, specifically, I also want to ground that you had a really, really rapid transformation. And when that happens, after only 3 months, right, your nervous system and your energetic body, they need time to integrate. So it is very, very common for us to experience this massive quantum leap, this massive transformation of reality. I mean, for you, you might as well have moved to a different country. Obviously, Puerto Rico's in the US, but from a distance perspective, I mean, it's an island, it's pretty far away from everything. Right. And so there's an integration that needs to happen there. And this actually was also ironically a topic that we discussed today in the Q&A earlier, because this is something that a lot of people are feeling is like, wow, I had this like really, really rapid transformation. And now all of a sudden I don't want to do my practice. And, maybe for a lot of people, December and January also were hard months for them. And a lot of that is because you're reintegrating into a new version of reality. You're becoming a new version of you, and your 3D reality needs time to catch up. So I also want to encourage, a little bit of softness. Like, this is not, pleasure embodiment is not militaristic, right? Like, this is not push-ups that you have to do every single day. Yes, pay attention. And if you're self-sabotaging and you're giving into resistance and you're getting into your own way, be honest with yourself. This isn't about bypassing. It is about grace and understanding. Just like personal development is not a direct path, neither is the pleasure process, right? It is an upwards spiral, which means you are going to have phases, you are going to have seasons, you are going to have cycles where you're really just not going to want to fucking do anything. And that's okay, as long as you're honest with yourself and you don't let it go, like, don't let it go 6 months. But if you have to take a month off, that's okay. We actually intentionally build integration weeks into the Sexual Empowerment Academy to give people that space after every section so that their body can rest, their body can breathe, and they don't have to be on their pleasure practice every day. Because the truth is, if you're doing it that way, you're not going to fucking enjoy it anyways. And now you're missing the whole point.
Exactly, where everything's predicated on pleasure, right? So gotta make sure you gotta enjoy it, right? And also embrace sometimes like for me, like sometimes it gets like boring because I'm so used to have stimulation, phones and like scroll, 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 blah blah blah, right? Like, so all that stimulation. So sometimes it might feel boring, and something that is peaceful, something that is just no stimulus, just you with your body. So that's the one thing. Like, don't confuse that, right? Like, if there's pleasure, right, there's gonna be boring. Like, maybe just when you adjust to it because you're not used to. Peace might sound boring to you because you're always like flight or flight mode or something. So
Yeah.
same for experience, So
For a lot of us, our bodies are not used to being at rest, right? Like, for many humans, especially, again, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're listening to this podcast, you're running a business, you're used to putting out a million different fires every single day. You're probably used to operating in a high stress environment. And that means that your body is literally not used to, and probably very uncomfortable from a biological, biochemical perspective, with the feeling and the sensation of peace. Because that we will associate that with lack of productivity, which is dangerous, right? If I'm not productive, the story in the mind and felt experience in the body is, if I am not producing, if I am not doing, therefore I am not creating more money, therefore I am at risk and I might die. And it becomes a matter of survival, fight or flight, like you said. So this is why the pleasure breath is an amazing, amazing beginning practice to come back and just create. Even just 3 minutes a day is more than enough to start changing your body and reprogramming and rewiring your body on a biochemical level to be comfortable and enjoy the sensation of peace and have it be something that's actually positive and safe and naturally rewarding, so that you're also getting that dopamine hit as well, right? Eventually you'll get that. And the reason it feels boring is because you're not getting a dopamine hit right now, and you're addicted to a dopamine hit, which most of humanity is, right? So you almost have to go on a dopamine fast and allow yourself to just sit there. And you know what? Just naming it, like, this is kind of boring, is fine. Now, the really quick trick that I like here from a tip perspective is to habit stack this with something positive. So if you want to get into this becoming something that is inherently dopamine producing and something that is going to be therefore eventually oxytocin producing, all you have to do is reward yourself after the 3 minutes are done or whenever you're done your practice. And what your brain will start to do is say, oh, this is like very Pavlovian, right? We all know the story of Pavlov's dog, where he would ring the bell and feed the dog. And eventually all he had to do was ring the bell and the dog would salivate. This is what you're doing to your brain. You're saying, hey, when I do my pleasure practice, I get a cookie or whatever the reward is for you, right? And then eventually what happens is your body starts to associate the positive reward of the cookie to the pleasure practice. And this is going to make it easier for you to work through it, for you to enjoy it, and for it to become, again, more pleasurable and substantially less boring, because it's something that is inherently positively reinforced throughout your life.
I'm thinking what I'm gonna. I think I don't want to get like too snacky, right? But like I would maybe have this like kombuchas that I really like, and maybe I can be like, hey, I'm gonna just take a sip of this or something, because eventually you're gonna fade out of it, right? And then now you don't have to, because now just the thought of that doing this is gonna give me a reward, then it takes over, right? Like you described. So, but like I had like, oh, these things actually like really like this. It's like kombucha, like mango. It's like a mango pineapple, like mango passion fruit. Oh, and they're like probably probiotics. It's good for the stomach. A friend of mine gave me that. It's like I love them now. So maybe because I can just close them, so maybe I can just have one that I'm like do a shot, do a couple of weeks, and then after that, like I probably wire my brain that I don't have to do it anymore. So thinking about doing that for sure, just to kind of get that dog in me going. Oh, so I mean, this was a great conversation. I think that we dropped some very good value. I mean, I just dropped my experience more than anything, and you gave us a lot of different angles. I love how you ground things, right? Like we talk about all these things like magic and sex and this energy and all that, but like you always give it a very scientific, easy to digest explanation, and that's why I resonate with you so much. I love the science behind things. I love explanations. Like I'm exploring. The metaphysical world and all this energy stuff that science sometimes cannot really explain completely, but at least being able to kind of ground it in a way to make it digestible and easy for us to like logically process it. I really love that, and that's the reason that I picked you as my coach and not other people that I've come across, because there's always kind of like something missing, and it's like, yeah, I want to believe this woo stuff, like this magical thing, but I need something to at least my brain can process it and understand it as something that is actually possible. Because if I don't believe in it, then it's just I'm not gonna, it's just not gonna be something that I'm gonna can work towards, because I don't believe in it, right? Like I'll be kind of faking it maybe more, if I try. So that's something that I really like about you. So thank you for giving this to me and the audience.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And it's so important to recognize that, I mean, I don't teach from a space of myself being, like a guru or a leader, or like just do this because I said so, like just have like blind faith in the spirituality. Like I see a lot of that in the spiritual community. And to be honest, it kind of makes me want to puke. It's really, I think, very, very unhealthy and also ineffective to lead from that capacity. I have the science background because I'm genuinely interested in it. I'm a huge science nut, and I want to understand the way that this universe and this reality works. And by the time something is coming out of my mouth and being shared in a public forum such as this, you can be confident that I personally have tested it, proven it, found various different scientific articles that all validate exactly what I'm saying. And then what I really tell everyone to do, and this is so fundamental to any type of embodiment or pleasure practice, and what I've told you to do many times, and I will share with your audience, is try it and prove it to yourself so that it works, not because, hey, this woman with a master's in metaphysics who's doing a PhD and has written a bunch of books and blah, 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 like, cool, I've got accolades and credentials out the wazoo. That's amazing. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work for you, what's the fucking point? So try the pleasure breath, try something simple. There's also a meditation that you can download on my website that you can also try that is free. Either of those, depending on what type of person you are, you'll have an affinity for one more than the other. And Fu, I'll get you the links for those. Whichever one, try them both, see how they work, and prove it to yourself. And then everything else becomes easier. Everything else will be a nice, easy leap because you already know this shit works because you've seen evidence of it in your own life.
Amazing. I mean, I could talk with you for hours. You know this. I just don't get tired of it. And there's always so much to unpack. There's always so much to talk about and go into rabbit holes. And for me, like, it's so, you make it so interesting. I love it. So, if so you're listening to this and you are like me and you're like, yeah, I want to talk to Stephanie. She seems so cool, and I want to know more about how can I tap into this Eros energy and use it for creating the life that I want. Then, Stephanie, how can people find you?
So I'm most active on Instagram. That's at Stephanie Jaie, and we'll put the link in there, but it's spelled Stephanie, and then J is spelled Jaie. So at Stephanie Jaie. On my website, you can find me at www.stephaniej.com. And if you are curious about the meditation specifically, then you'll go to stephaniej.com/meditate. And if you're curious about the Sexual Empowerment Academy, same thing, stephaniej.com/SEA, as in Sexual Empowerment Academy.
Excellent. And I mean, easiest way, just really Instagram, go follow her, go send her a DM, go drive through there, and really just start a conversation and get connected. I mean, being able, you really want to talk with her, like SCA is the best way to be able to get 2 times with her, or then there's always the one-on-one if you really want to get more personal, more private. So check that out. So thank you for bringing your energy to my space, to my audience. I'm always blessed to have you around, even if it's virtually. Can't wait to meet you in person in May. We're gonna be in LA. It's gonna be epic. And so, oh my God, it's amazing. So thank you again. Thank you for being here. I look forward to creating more content, to do more stuff, being able to as I help you with the marketing too, amplify your impact, because you have impacted me tremendously. And I want you to impact more people, because I feel like it's almost like my duty, because you have impacted me in such a positive way.
Well, thank you. I'm truly deeply honored, and it is a delight to communicate and work with you and be in your field in every capacity possible.
I love this. So this was Stephanie Jaie and Fu, and this is us signing off.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Fu with your host, Fu. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.